Good day, everyone. This is Mark Vello, and you're listening to Headline News. President Trump's response goes viral on social media. Recently, there are increasing calls for President Trump to invoke the Insurrection Act and declare a national emergency. However, President Trump remains silent on his attitude towards this. On December 5th, Mike Kudry, the national coordinator of Stop the Steal, tagged President Trump in a tweet, urging him to take action. President Trump then reacted to this topic for the first time. Even though his response was just one word, many people liked and commented. Michael Kudry tweeted, "Mr. President, we are asking you to declare Dominion and Smartmatic a national security threat by executive order and bar U.S. states and U.S. persons from doing business with them. We cannot allow foreign companies to control our elections." Scott Adams, influential commentator and creator of the comic strip Dilbert, retweeted and commented that, "This is a no-brainer. Obviously we have to do this, under the national security umbrella." President Trump retweeted Scott Adams' post, along with his thought-provoking comment, "Interesting." President Trump's reply immediately went viral on social media. It started a lot of conversation, stemming many interesting comments under this post. Recently, President Trump made a similarly thought-provoking remark to the public. At a press conference on December 7th, he told the reporters that his team has enough evidence to prove that this presidential election was rigged. He said, "I think the case has been made, and now we find out what we can do about it. But you'll see a lot of big things happening over the next couple of days." Joint Congressional Committee on Inaugural Ceremonies failed to pass a motion to recognize Biden as president-elect. On December 8th, the Joint Congressional Committee on Inaugural Ceremonies, JCCIC, composed of members of the U.S. House of Representatives and Senate, did not pass a motion affirming its preparation for the inauguration of President-elect Joe Biden. With all Republican members of the committee voting against the motion, it did not pass. House Democrat Steny Hoyer, who initiated the motion, said all three Republicans on the committee voted against the motion, and the motion failed to pass in a 3-3 deadlock. The JCCIC is a special joint committee of the U.S. Congress formed every 4 years since the inauguration of William McKinley in 1901 to administer the inauguration of the President and Vice President. In addition to Hoyer, other lawmakers serving on the committee include House Speaker Nancy Pelosi, Democrat Senator Amy Klobuchar, Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell, Republican Senator Roy Blunt, and House Republican Leader Kevin McCarthy. Republican Senator Roy Blunt, who voted against the motion, said in a statement that, "It is not the job of the Joint Congressional Committee on Inaugural Ceremonies to get ahead of the electoral process and decide on who we are inaugurating." He stated that he hoped, going forward, the members of the JCCIC would adhere to the committee's long-standing tradition of bipartisan cooperation and focus on the task at hand. On Tuesday, the Trump team released a statement saying that the election dispute will continue beyond the usual December 8th election safe harbor deadline. The statement pointed out, Justice Ginsburg recognized in Bush v. Gore that the date of ultimate significance is January 6th, when the Congress counts and certifies the votes of the Electoral College. The only fixed day in the U.S. Constitution is the inauguration of the President on January 20th at noon. The Trump team maintained, despite the media trying desperately to proclaim that the fight is over, we will continue to champion election integrity until every legal vote is counted fairly and accurately. The two-party battleground state of Georgia welcomed Secretary of State Mike Pompeo on December the 9th after receiving campaign speeches from President Donald Trump and Vice President Mike Pence. He spoke at the Georgia Institute of Technology about the Chinese Communist Party threat to U.S. national security and academic freedom. With a runoff election for the federal senator in Georgia on January 5th next year, the race is tight and the outcome will determine which party controls the Senate. Pompeo is the third senior official of President Trump's administration to travel to Georgia to speak before the election, and the significance and importance of this trip has drawn even more attention and speculation. On Monday, in an interview on the Fox News The Guy Benson Show, Pompeo told host Benson a few things about Wednesday's speech. He began by talking about the penetration of the Chinese Communist Party in American universities. Georgia Institute of Technology is one of the top comprehensive public universities in the United States, which was founded in 1885. Along with the Massachusetts Institute of Technology, MIT, and the California Institute of Technology, Caltech, they are known as one of the top 3 polytechnics in the United States and is also known as MIT in the South. Pompeo suggested that it may be puzzling to some that U.S. foreign policy might have an impact on a highly capable research institution like the Georgia Institute of Technology. But today, the CCP's goal is to lobby, infiltrate, and steal secrets. What these schools should do, and really must do, is not only protect their students, but also their data. He focused on how the Chinese Communist Party was able to infiltrate and steal secrets, why this affects U.S. national security, and how President Trump's administration is fighting back. Then, Pompeo spoke about President Trump's administration initiatives to counter Chinese propaganda and infiltration. He pointed out that some of the propaganda agencies of the Chinese Communist Party in the United States are not media, but Chinese Communist Party propaganda agencies. Therefore, they made the decision that if they wanted to work on behalf of the Chinese Communist Party, they needed to register as foreign agents. And now there are such requirements. During the show, Pompeo also spoke about the Chinese Communist Party's persecution of faith. He said, "We do everything we can, through many tools, to ensure that everyone in the world has maximum religious freedom. In this case, certain countries' persecution of faith is so severe and so brutal that we find it unacceptable, so we pressure them to pay the price." He said the United States respects religious freedom and beliefs, and under President Trump, the expectation is that every nation will respect the fundamental right of every person to have their dignity as a human being, to practice their faith, or if they choose not to practice their faith, that's it, but it will not be imposed by any government. He added that today the behavior of the CCP is far from this basic idea, respect for freedom of belief. This country has destroyed churches and denied Christians, Catholics, and Muslims the right to practice their faith. There are many countries around the world that fall into this category, and in each case, the United States does its best to improve the opportunities for individuals to follow their faith. Finally, Pompeo summed up President Trump's China policy by saying, "First of all, I think President Trump revealed the risks that the Chinese Communist Party posed, and we've been talking about that for 50 years. We've tried cooperation, we've tried appeasement. That posed a risk. President Trump flipped the script and said we're not going to do that again." You must be alive to vote. Republican lawmaker pushes bill. In the U.S. 2020 election, dead people were found to be voting in a number of states. Texas Congressman Brian Babham introduced the You Must Be Alive to Vote Act last week, which seeks to remove dead voters from state voter rolls. This bill calls for withholding federal funds from counties that do not annually check their voter rolls against dead records. The bill has 8 co-sponsors to date. The right to vote is one of the most vital pillars of our democracy, the foundations of which are election integrity and confidence in our democratic processes, said Babin in a statement. The ease with which someone is able to steal the ballot of a deceased person and cast an illegitimate vote should disturb, alarm, and outrage every American citizen, no matter what side of the aisle they sit on. He added, to protect our democratic process and Americans' faith in our elections, we must ensure that deceased individuals are not allowed to remain on state voter rolls. It's the easiest thing in the world for these local counties to purge their voter list off deceased individuals, Babin explained in an OANN interview. He added that all they have to do is go to the Social Security system, cross-check against their list of deceased recipients, and then remove the deceased from the voter rolls. This concludes tonight's broadcast. Thank you for your time, and stay tuned for the next Headline News.